and someone gets a universal injunction against him, you don't like universal injunctions. You called them judges acting like they're politicians in robes and judges looking like crass political actors. But now that President Trump's in the White House, who you dislike, you think that universal injunctions taste like pumpkin pie.
In this explosive Senate hearing, hypocrisy and double standards in America's judiciary are exposed for all to see. Senators pressed legal experts on the abuse of nationwide injunctions, judicial activism, and blatant partisanship in the courts. One professor even got caught labeling Supreme Court justices as evil, proving exactly why so many Americans have lost faith in our legal institutions. This powerful exchange shows how activist judges and left-wing academics weaponize the law to serve their agenda, while claiming to defend the Constitution. Watch as the truth comes out in dramatic fashion.
Would any of you advise a client to defy a federal court order?
No.
None of you would? How about you, Professor?
I mean, under most circumstances, we follow the government and private parties follow court orders. I suppose it's not, I would not rule out ever the possibility that in a sufficiently egregious order, there should be some consideration of whether there's a way.
So in some cases,
I think it's a qualified answer, yes.
In some cases you would.
In an extremely narrow band of cases, I think it would be considered, yes.
Okay. Do any of you think that nationwide or universal injunctions are not being abused?
I'm not sure what if I may, Senator, I'm not sure what the time horizon of the question is. I don't think that there could be good faith disagreements about the correctness of some of them, but I have not seen in the last 4 months abuse. No.
I've read your stuff and I've read your writings, and I don't want to get bogged down with this, but I have little respect for your opinion because I've read your stuff. When someone is in the White House that you agree with and someone gets a universal injunction against him, you don't like universal injunctions. You called them judges acting like they're politicians in robes and judges looking like crass political actors. But now that President Trump's in the White House, who you dislike, you think that universal injunctions taste like pumpkin pie. So I have to discount what you say because I think you act on your political beliefs. And I worry that that's what you're teaching your kids. So I'll leave you out of that. Do you think nationwide injunctions are being abused?
Certainly, Senator. I think that is.
They're being abused by both sides, aren't they?
Yes, Senator.
Both Republicans and Democrats are forum shopping, aren't they?
Certainly.
Professor, do you disagree with that?
I think both sides are abusing them. I agree.
Okay. Both sides.
Yeah.
There are no clean hands here. Now, your suggestion is that when a federal judge issues a nationwide injunction, there should be an automatic stay and an expedited right of appeal. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you disagree with that?
I haven't given enough thought to have a position on it, Senator.
I suspect, Professor, your answer will be it depends on who's president.
No, Senator.
Let me ask you about this. What if we had a rule? I was reading an article the other day. I'm not suggesting it. I just want your opinions. That said, if a president, any president, issues an executive order, let's say, that clearly violates settled Supreme Court precedent, that a federal judge can't issue a nationwide injunction. For example, if a federal a president issued an order that said no one in America has right to counsel any longer, including but not limited to, in a felony case, having the government pay for your lawyer if you can't afford it. That clearly violates settled Gideon v. Wainwright. In that case, a judge has no authority or does have authority to issue a nationwide injunction. But in a case where the law is unclear, a judge should refrain from that. Now, obviously, we'd have to trust our judges, but we're supposed to be able to trust them anyway. What do you think about that?
I don't agree with that, Senator, because I think universal injunctions transgress the limitations under Article 3, even if the underlying merits are clear.
I happen to agree with you. I don't think there's any basis under Article 3, under Supreme Court precedent, under the English common law for nationwide injunctions. I think politicians have helped judges, and many judges are politicians, to just make it up. And many of them are like Professor Shaw here. If they like the president, they're against nationwide injunctions. If they don't like the president, they're for him. Professor, let me ask you this while I have you. On April 22nd, 2024, you said there are some members of the Supreme Court that are evil. Which justices were you talking about?
I'll take it your word, Senator. I don't recall using that word, but
All right, here's what you said. You were talking about the majority opinion in Muldrow v. City of St. Louis. You said, quote, Justice Kagan, will she be able to control the opinion's future distortion by her evil colleagues? Probably not, end quote. Who were you talking about?
sir, I'm very skeptical. If it's a transcription, it was probably a transcription error. I do not think I said.
No, you said it. Why don't you own up to it? Which you call some of the members of the Supreme Court evil. Now, which ones do you think are evil?
I would have to refresh my recollection. I've been very critical
You're
of some
embarrassed
members of the
that
Supreme
you made
Court.
that statement, aren't you?
I'm
You're an
telling
officer
Senator, it
of the
doesn't sound
court.
like something that
You know
I
what
would
I'm
say.
embarrassed at? That you're teaching our kids.
I don't refer to Supreme Court justices as evil in
Did,
the
right here,
in the classroom,
on
sir.
your podcast, April 22nd, 2024.
Okay, well,
Big as Dallas. And you're an officer of the court, and you're here advising us to be respectful to federal judges, and you say they're evil members of the United States Supreme Court? Gag me with a spoon. You're part of what's the problem in all of this.
The senator began with a simple question. Would anyone here advise a client to defy a federal court order? Everyone said no, except one professor who left the door cracked open, saying maybe in some narrow cases. That right there shows the mindset of the academic elite, always leaving room to bend the rules when it fits their ideology. Then we got into the heart of it. Nationwide injunctions. These are those sweeping rulings where one federal judge, sometimes in a tiny district, decides for the entire country. Both parties have used them, yes, but let's not pretend. Democrats have turned them into a weapon. Every time President Trump tried to enforce immigration laws, border security, or policies to protect Americans, left-wing judges stepped in with nationwide injunctions. But when it was Obama or Biden, suddenly, those same voices screamed about judicial restraint. Hypocrisy doesn't even begin to cover it. The senator called it out perfectly. These professors, these so-called experts, flip their opinions depending on who is in the White House. When it's a Republican, they're all for judges shutting him down. When it's a Democrat, they act like judges should stay in their lane. That's not legal scholarship. That's political activism dressed up in robes and degrees. There was also an important point about reform. The idea that any nationwide injunction should automatically be put on hold with a fast-track appeal makes perfect sense. It prevents activist judges from single-handedly derailing the executive branch based on ideology. But of course, one professor refused to commit because to him it all depends. It depends on whether the ruling helps his side politically. That's the disease eating away at our judicial system. The senator even pushed further with a hypothetical. What if a president blatantly violated established law, like stripping away the right to counsel guaranteed by Gideon versus Wainwright. Should a judge then be allowed to issue a nationwide injunction? Even then, some professors balked, hiding behind Article 3 instead of standing firmly on principle. This is the problem. Too many academics and judges don't see themselves as defenders of the Constitution. They see themselves as part of a political game, moving pieces around to benefit their team. And then came the bombshell. One professor, not long ago, referred to Supreme Court justices as evil. Yes, evil. This is someone teaching law students, future lawyers and judges, and he's labeling members of the highest court in the land as evil just because he doesn't like their rulings. He tried to dodge, claimed maybe it was a transcription error, but the senator had the receipts. Instead of owning up, the professor danced around it. Folks, this is dangerous. These are the people shaping the minds of the next generation of lawyers, poisoning them with radical ideology instead of teaching respect for the law. This hearing exposed exactly why so many Americans have lost faith in the judiciary. Too many professors, judges, and so-called experts don't care about consistent principles or the Constitution. They care about advancing an agenda. They talk about the rule of law, but behind closed doors, they cheer when it's bent or broken to take down their political enemies. That's not justice. That's corruption. We need more senators willing to confront this hypocrisy head-on. We need judges who follow the Constitution no matter who is in the White House. And we need to hold accountable those who twist the law into a partisan weapon. This was a powerful reminder that the fight to save America isn't just happening at the ballot box. It's happening in our courts, our classrooms, and our institutions. If we want to protect this country for future generations, we need to call out the double standards, expose the corruption, and demand accountability. Stay tuned right here on Congress Breaking News, where we bring you the truth they don't want you to hear. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with your friends and family. Because if we don't stand together, the left will keep stacking the system against us.